Hello, my name is Father Lawrence Jagfeld, and I am a Franciscan friar of the Sacred Heart Province, which is headquartered in St. Louis. I also serve as administrator of CUSA, an apostolate of persons with chronic illness and/or disability. The offices for CUSA are located here in Cicero, Illinois. Today we celebrate the Feast of the Epiphany. The word Epiphany means manifestation. There are actually 3 epiphanies that are recorded in the Gospels. The first of these is the visit by the Magi, the sages from the East. The second is the baptism of Jesus, which we will celebrate next Sunday. And the third manifestation, or revelation of Jesus, is the incident that we refer to as the wedding feast of Cana. And by coincidence, that gospel will be used for the second Sunday in ordinary time, which will follow after the feast of the baptism. So this Sunday we hear the traditional story of the visit of the sages from the East. This is one of those feasts on which the gospel, the readings for this liturgy, never change. We hear these same readings every year. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of King Herod, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews?" We saw his star at its rising, and we have come to do him homage. When King Herod heard this, he was greatly troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Assembling all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it has been written through the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, since from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and ascertained from them the time of the star's appearance. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search diligently for the child. When you have found him, bring me word, that I too may go and do him homage." After their audience with the king they set out, and behold, the star that they had seen at its rising preceded them, until it came and stopped over the place where the child was. They were overjoyed at seeing the star, and on entering the house they saw the child with Mary his mother. They prostrated themselves and did him homage. Then they opened their treasures and offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed for their country by another way. This particular gospel always gives me an opportunity to try and play a few little jokes on my Bible study class. I asked them, for instance, how many kings does this gospel speak of? And the answer is 2, King Herod and the infant king of Bethlehem. The gospel does not call the 3 kings anything other than wise men or magi. I also usually try and ask them, how many wise men were there? Again, the gospel doesn't tell us how many there were. It tells us that there were 3 gifts, and we have, in our own way, come to the conclusion that there must have been 3 wise men. Actually, the earliest tradition in the church was that there were 12 magi, that there was one for every tribe of Israel, even though these men were not Israelites, that they came from the east, from other countries. In order to balance the universal aspect of Jesus' appearance with the Jewish manifestation, the earliest tradition tells us that there were 12 magi. I'm sure that the manufacturers of nativity scenes would love to hear that, because it would give them the opportunity to create more figures. But for the time being, we will rest with the three, because of the three gifts. Matthew's gospel is written for a completely different purpose than Luke's gospel, and this story comes to us from Matthew. Instead of shepherds visiting Jesus, we have wise men from the east visiting Jesus. Matthew was making a real attempt here to show that Jesus' birth was not simply for the Jews. It was for everyone. And so he has these foreigners, these men from the east, appearing as they follow a star to the birthplace of Jesus. Notice also that the gospel says that they found him in a house, no longer in the manger, no longer in the stable. This accounts for why, a little later on in the gospel, we hear of Herod massacring all the children, all the male children of Bethlehem, 2 years of age and under. This event, the visit of the Magi, is obviously not something that took place on the night of Jesus' birth. It took place sometime later. All of this is peripheral to the real message of this gospel. We can sit and discuss the particulars and the details until the cows come home. But the real issue here is what happened to these wise men when they visited this child. And the gospel is also very clear there. They were changed by their visit. Matthew signals that by telling us that they went home by a different route. The words really mean much more than the fact that they went home by a different road or different highway. They went home changed by their experience of Jesus, their experience of this child. Each of us, in our own way, is changed when we meet Jesus, when we encounter this gift of God, when we encounter this child born for our salvation. That change we call conversion. It is brought about by our repentance and our turning away from our own will to do the will of the one who sent Jesus, just as he did throughout his life. So this feast day really asks us to go home by a different route, to look for a different way to live our lives, to turn away from those things which perhaps have distracted us from God, and turn us toward this light that is shining in the darkness so that we can follow his path. For more information about CUSA, please visit our website at www.cuson.org.